Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
My sincere apologies for being a bit late. I didn't intend to be. Got problems with my machine at home, I think. But anyway, I'm going to tell you this evening about the village signs within roughly 12 miles from Horley. Now, I tell you a little bit about the history of village signs, or as far as I'm concerned, the history for me. And many years ago, I took my dear mother away on holiday. And as mums would be, it was a case of take a flask of tea so that we could pull up somewhere in the country and have a cup of tea. And I pulled up in Norfolk outside a town or a village with a nice car park, and right beside it was a pretty sign. And Mum said, "Oh, that's a pretty sign. What's that for?" Looking at it, it was a very splendid carved coloured wooden sign. I think it was a Flitcham in Norfolk. And the conversation went, "Oh, that's nice. I wonder if there's any more up here." So we drive on down the road, and yes, there's one at almost every village, at almost every hamlet. And I got sort of hooked on that. So we came home, and where I was working at the time, it was before the days of a lot of computerization, but somebody in the office said, "Oh, village signs, there's bound to be a society for them." So yeah, okay. So she tapped a few buttons and somebody sent me a membership form from the Village Sign Society. And yes, I joined, and before I knew, I was the South East representative of the Society for Kent, Surrey and Sussex. And that sent me going around town, around the villages, taking photographs. So what I'm doing for you this evening is, as I said, within 12 miles of home. I take a very broad brush on it. It's as very much as the crow flies. And indeed, it may or may not be an exact 12 miles, but more or less. So what are we looking at in the first one? We'll start off with our own hometown. And this is just a specimen of what I'm going to show you. Thank you, Doug. So we start off with our hometown, not a particularly wonderful sign. Welcome to Horley. How many people know where they are? How many are there? Any of you know? Are you all muted? I hope you're not. But I think there's 5 of these.
Right.
One on the Borkham Road somewhere.
There's one on
I think this is
Road.
the one, isn't it?
There's one when you come in on the Smallfield Road. There's one in Lee Street, or Mill Street, and there's one on the A23, not far from Longbridge Roundabout. And this is typical of the sort of pictures that I'm going to show you this evening. The panel has got the village sign and a couple of views in the village. This particular one, we've got some history on the top right-hand picture because it's got the now defunct Barclays Bank building on there. So there we are. So moving on, and I'm very conscious of the fact that some of you might want to watch a television programme at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So I'm not going to delay too long on some of these. This one is Welcome to Red Hill, as you can see. And the sign people have actually taken the ironwork of the building in the London Road in the precinct there, which has since been demolished and replaced. They've replaced all the ironwork, but you can just see the shape of the metal that was with the windows that are in the Red Hill. So that's Red Hill. Moving on from that is Merstham. I'm sure there's no need for me to describe this one as a village sign. No. Comparatively recent, and anybody recognise why that is? But it's the feathers, the plume of feathers, and of course just across the road is the Feathers pub. And that's where the sign is situated, on the left-hand side of the A23 as you go up through the main road, where there's a bit of the old iron railway track. There used to be some of it there as well. So
Could I
anyway,
I add something, John?
yeah,
You've got a picture of another defunct Barclays Bank there.
yes, indeed. And that actually, in the bottom picture on the right there, that has been so many things since it was Barclays Bank. I hate to tell you how many. It's been a Pizza Hut, it's been a solicitor's, it was a fireworks shop. And those are just three things that come immediately to mind. But anyway, that's Merstham. And just up the road, we've got Horley. Call it a village or not, well, I'm not sure. It's a settlement on the main road. And anybody know what the picture is depicting there?
Oh, it's the Surrey Iron Railway, isn't it?
Yes, the Surrey Iron Railway that used to come down from the Croydon area through the gap in the hills where they were lifting iron ore. So there we are, there's two of those signs, and you see one of those on the A23 coming from either direction, and there's one up on the top of the hill by the church, which is in the bottom picture with the war memorial. Okay. Nevern, is it a village or not? Well, it used to be a hospital.
Yes.
Long since defunct as a hospital, and thank goodness it's been developed in something more pleasurable. These were temporary signs, the one on the left-hand side there, and a couple of the ones in the village. The former water tower is the top one, and underneath it is the church building, both of which have been functioned for different purposes. And the water tower, I think they're flats, probably some enormous rate to buy or to live in. And there's the other one of the Nevern. These, I think, were contractors' signs. I don't think they're there now, but two separate villages or village signs and two different pictures. Still within 12 miles, we're up now at Farley and Chelsham, who are right on the far edge of the district from us. Anybody know where Farley is and Chelsham?
Near Warlingham, isn't
It's
it?
up near Warlingham, that's right.
Yes.
The sign for Farley and the one for Chelsham, which is next to it, it's a bit of a con, really. It's a made up shield, if you like, and doesn't have a huge amount of interest as far as being connected with the village, or what there is of it. But they're rather nice signs, comparatively new, and there's one of each of those. Sorry, Doug.
So just saying coat of arms. It's a coat of arms.
It's coat of arms, yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I've just been corrected there. I should have called it a coat of arms, but forgive me. This one is a sign that was put up in 1986, I think it is. 1986 at Chaldon. And I found that one some years after the Sign Society thought they got every village sign there was, recorded, that is. But most of you, I expect, will have been to Chaldon Church, where there's these old drawings on the wall that have been uncovered, and that goes back to 1086, so they think. And the village sign there, you can see the outline of the church is depicted on the sheet metal plates.
John?
Yeah?
Does it say 1086 in the top part of the sign?
It does say 1086, yes.
Just checking, thank you.
Yes.
1986. Yes.
And it's the old-fashioned, it's the old wording on it as well. Chaldon Dean, I think it is.
Thank you.
If you want, and if anybody wants more information on these signs, I've got it in a book at home, but I haven't got it with me, I'm afraid. But that's where it is. Anyway, time to move on. Caterham Valley. This one is just off the A22 coming north. If you know the main road coming up from Godstone There's some traffic lights where you bear left to drop down into Caterham itself.
Yeah.
There's just the one sign for Caterham Valley. And we've got 2 pictures there taken by me. All these pictures, incidentally, are all from my own camera, every single one. But that's Caterham Village. The church is just round the corner in the bottom of the village there. And just to the right of that, can you see the this building? This here is the fountain, which used to be on the roundabout in the middle, but it's comparatively recently been moved from the roundabout site to a side road just round to the left of that car there, and that was a drinking fountain. Caterham Valley is very distinct from Caterham on the hill, and they don't have a sign for Caterham on the hill as far as I'm aware. Still within our 12 miles, we can just get to Limpsfield and Oxted.
Ah, yes.
This is rather a nice sign. There are in fact 4 leaves to it. There's 1, 2, and 2 that are straight on with the camera. Impossible to get much with them all on. But you can see that the village sign here depicts or picks up the church. See the church with the cross on the top there is represented by the ironwork. And these, this building here on the right is what you can see across the road here on the left. And the other 3 panes mark other important features in the village. If you wonder where Limpsfield is, it's just off the A25 going out from Oxted towards Westerham. Oxted, nice place. You'd think they'd have a nice sign, but the best I can do is this little mosaic which is on the wall of the railway station, which is behind me when I took this photograph on the bottom right hand side. That's Oxted. Hurst Green,
Yeah.
that's an old sign which has since been replaced, and I haven't yet managed to get a photo of it, but it is exactly what it says it is. It's a wood. Hurst is a tree, and it's on the green when it depicts the village name. That's the village hall there. The railway station is a bit beyond it, and the church, relatively new church that was burned out and rebuilt in the 1960s, I believe. That's Hurst Green. Broadham Green, I think this is one of my favourites in Surrey, and it's nothing much there. There's the pub, and forgive me for getting what it's called, and the lovely village green here. And what does the village sign tell us? Well, it was put up in to celebrate the millennium in 2000. The local farming around there, and because it's this hill land, sheep, and we got sheep and the shepherd and the shepherd's crook and the shepherd's dog.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure exactly what this is. I think this is represents the local vegetative trees and things, but that's Broadham Green.
Whereabouts is Broadham Green, John?
I beg your pardon?
Whereabouts is Broadham Green?
Oh,
Not a name I recognise.
oh, it's about a mile or a mile and a half south of Oxted, of Old Oxted.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's not much there. There's the pub. I should remember the name of the pub, but I haven't got my notes with me. Came out in a bit of a hurry. But I can tell that anybody gets any questions, I can answer later. Tandridge this is just for the parish of Tandridge. There's very little there. There's the pub, the Barley Mow, and this is the main road through the village. Down the bottom here on the right hand side is the village hall, and that's about all there is at Tandridge. But you'll probably know from the geography and politically, it's an area on its own, and there's Tandridge District Council that administers the land around, which covers quite a big area. So anybody got anything to add on that?
I can tell you what the pub is, John.
Go on then.
It's the hay cutter.
Yes, you're right. Will you just look that up?
I did, yeah, there we are.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, I don't doubt your word. Thanks for that, Sir Brian.
That's
And
all right.
so what do we got next? Not really much for you to be told about this one. You must all know Godstone Green. I'm not sure what happened in 1989 for them to create this wooden carved sign of the cricket. The sign is still there, but it's somewhat black and somber. And you come past it when you come round the one way. If you're coming south through Godstone on the one way, and you turn hard right to go to Red Hill on the A25, and it's just close to the road on the left there. Lots of scroll work and metal work, but yeah, that's 30 years old. Some say it should be replaced, but it seems to live on. And that one, there's a bit of a history on that. For many years, Cala of Cala Gas, they sponsored a Best Kept Village campaign. And this sign used to do its round. So if Godstone won it, they put Godstone on it, and then it might have gone to Shear or somewhere else. But they must have abandoned the competition or whatever, and Godstone seem to have kept that for themselves. Good luck to them. But it's currently missing, so perhaps it's been resurrected and gone somewhere else. But it used to be right outside the fire station on the old A22, if anybody knows it. It was right opposite the entrance to the big fire station. Bletchingley.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. There's an interesting one. The Bletchingley Village Council wanted to put a sign up, and they opened it up to a competition for children and the like, and anybody else interested to draw up their design. And there were about 6 or 7 designs which were up, and this was the one that was selected. And the outline of the church, you can see this is the black, this is depicting the church. The leaves represent the countryside, and this was the crest of somebody or other whose name I'm afraid I can't tell you. And I was there at the opening of that one, or the installation, or the unveiling is probably the right word. But that was a good years ago. And comparatively recently, they've put some ironwork down the post commemorating the fact that the Olympic flame came through Bletchingley in 2012 on its way to wherever it was going. So that's Bletchingley. Outward.
But yeah.
Yeah. And nothing I can tell you that you don't already know about Outward. You know where it is. I'm sure you've seen the sign there on the green just opposite, and the church on the bottom there.
Yes.
Anybody know Horn? You know where that is?
Yes.
Just out past Smallfield.
Yes. Do you know where the sign is?
Oh,
Because you probably wouldn't notice it if you went through the village, because it's parallel with the road. All the others, you drive by them and they stand and face you, whichever way you're coming. This one's a one-sided sign put there to celebrate the coronation in 1953. And it's had various repaints over the years, and it's always somebody with a horn. There's nothing in the village apart from the church. It's hardly enough to be a village. There's a school, little school as well, but there's no shops whatsoever. Smallfield. Any of our audience from Smallfield? Because you may
Used to
not
live
know.
there some years ago.
Yeah, this village sign was round the corner down here on the right hand side, but it's recently been moved across the road onto the corner of Plough Road, where they've put a seat as well and made a little bit of a feature of it. The 2000 was the millennium, and then we've got two shepherd's crooks, which relate supposedly to sheep farming
Yeah.
in the dim and distant past.
Blimey.
Still 12 miles, and we've only got a third of them so far. Blindley Heath. This one here is on the corner of the cricket field. The cricket field is just on the right, and this is on the little pond on the corner there. As the main road goes along the back, you can just see the sign standing up there. And this pond, quite a biggish pond. And when I was taking the photograph of the pond, somebody came across to me and said, "What are you taking a picture of my pond for?" "What do you mean, my pond?" And it transpired he was something to do with one of the Gatwick societies who pay out awards to local villages as some sort of compensation for the damage and the noise and the troubles that the airport brings. So he had pleasant chat, said, yeah, it was a good idea to record it. And this was what the village sign pictures with the swan there, and AD 2000, another millennium sign. Lingfield. The little building on the top, stone building, is the cage, which you were put in if you were naughty back in the distant past. And that's right beside the pond. The pond is just behind it. And just round the corner is the village sign related to the Cobham family, I understand, with the village. And it is their crest up here, or their shields. And this relates to them as well. Lingfield. Dorman's Land, still 12 miles from Horley. Dorman's Land in the village. I'm told that the scene, it's a new settlement comparatively, and the tree is a young tree. And that is about as much as I can tell you about that one. Crowhurst. Not hearing many people say they've seen all these signs, so I'm hoping some of you are learning something. Crowhurst, not that far away from Oxted and where we've been previously. But what have we got here? We've got two crows on the top to pick up the name, part of the name of the village. Hurst is a wood, so we've got the tree on the top right-hand quarter. The left-hand side, you've got the church, the sheaf of corn representing the farming, and there was a certain amount of iron ore and metal. That is what the dagger is meant to represent. And right next to it, or not far away from it, is a replica of that sign with two metal flags of Estonia and England. And it's in memory of this chappie, Leo Luxep. I've just lost the P on the end there. Not quite sure what he did, but he did a lot for the village generally. And the seat was put in, and you might be able to see the lettering that's been etched into the top there in memory of the Estonian Leo Luxep, dedicated English patriot.
Yeah.
And he was a pilot or something like that in the war. And they're metal flags. Eden Bridge, I went to the installation of this one. A nice sign. You'll notice the colour of the border has changed to a purpley colour, which is the Kent colour. We've got the rampant horse in the middle, and we've got either side of it, we've got the hops, because there was some hops being grown in the area. And over the top, that depicts the bridge over the river Eden, and there's the River Eden. Four Elms, still in Kent. Yes, well, the village sign tells us what it is. There's 4 trees on the top there, and the rampant Kentish Invicta. And the sign itself is actually on the top of this signpost, finger post. Must be very, very heavy, so it needs to be a very strong a very strong post. But there we are, that's Four Elms. Still 12 miles, and here we're into Kent. Marsh Green is another one. Not a lot to say about that. Put up in 1952 to 1977, Queen's Silver Jubilee year, and we've got the E2R over the top there. And the village, well, the village pub, I believe, was shut, closed, and there's the village green, and the sign is just on the corner. Fell Bridge. Lots of things on this one to show you. We know where Fell Bridge is, like most of you do. It's on the A22 where the road comes in from Horley and Crawley, comes in by the star in there by the traffic lights. And immediately to the south, behind where I was standing, is the bridge over the mighty Fell, the stream. And so what we got on the sign, well, there's the bridge over the stream. There's some very, very big trees further down towards Crawley and Crawley down. And this up here, there's a lot of the Sussex signs have got references to the Iron Age. We've got 2 cannons and a mill wheel and some cannonballs. And the little squirrels are probably put in there by the manufacturer, whether it's a blacksmith or someone like that. And it was their way to put their own mark on these signs, like a signature mark, really. So that's Fell Bridge. And dipping now into West Sussex, just West Sussex, here's East Grinstead. I'm sure you recognise where we are. And I think there's 3 or 4 of these signs. Ashurst Wood, gone down the A22 a little bit further. There were 2 of these signs. One of them's gone, and the other one is in the centre of the village, not far from the War Memorial, which is there, and it's just up on the right. Ashurst Wood. Forest Row, again, a very simple sign, and all we've got is an oak tree or some sort of tree there in the middle, representing the forest. And that is right in the centre of the village. The roads that we see here, this is the main road that goes across to Tunbridge Wells. And this is I think it was the village hall at one time, which is right in the middle of the village beside the A22, which runs along the side there. Crawley Down. Interesting on this used to be out on the main roads, and it disappeared, and I couldn't find it. I got pictures of it where it was on the main road and disappeared completely. And I happened to be in East Grinstead Library, and there was a chappie there who was reference librarian, I think, and I was mentioning it to him, and he said, "Oh, it was stolen, wasn't it? Been stolen a long time." And they'd had a replica made, and that is still there now in the centre of the village, completely different place, down beside the pub, or what was the pub, and that's the village green up there.
Does any of those photos of Crawley Down show where the station used to be?
Where the old sign used to be? Do you mean
No, where the old station used to be.
Oh, well, it's more or less built on the site of the railway. The old railway went across there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the modern developments, the railway was closed in the early 60s, and it's valuable land, and it was developed. But there's not much of the railway that you can see in Crawley Down. Copthorne, interesting one. This is to celebrate the millennium as depicted by the wording there. And it's a cutout silhouette, what we call a silhouette sign. And the cutout represents the boundaries of Copthorne parish. I don't go much on it really, but that's what it's supposed to be. But how it can have a round boundary like that, I don't know. Hey, what's happening? Oh. And here we come. Anybody know where this is?
Crawley.
Crawley, yes. The Village Sign Society won't let me count it as a village sign because there's no name on it. And that's one of the records, one of the rules that we have is that anything that counts as a village sign has to have the village name on it. But it is Crawley, and there are crows on the top, and this is representing an axe, I believe, an axe head. And that relates to lie and a wood. So that is what it's supposed to be. There used to be a brass plate on the base, but that's gone. And indeed that was vandalized and was missing for several years, but it's recently come back. So there we are. Anyway, that's about halfway round. I was going to pause just for a couple of minutes if anybody needs to make themselves comfortable, make a cup of tea or something. So can we give it 3 or 4 minutes and then we'll come back and carry on? Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody's got any questions?
Make a drink for him, John.
No, okay, thanks.
Really? That sounds good. Is that a J on top of it?
That's on. When did you take the photos of the
Oh,
snow?
no, it's
Those-
The ones with the snow at Crowhurst,
First time, yeah.
I can't remember. That was several years ago. And most of these are quite old pictures, actually.
Yeah.
But no, I could probably tell you if you really needed to know.
Just intrigued because it hasn't snowed for years, isn't it?
No, no. A lot of these pictures are 10 years old.
Okay.
Mm.
Could be. Cool. Crawley down.
Oh, Crawley Town.
No, that's Crawley.
Isn't it?
Because it's Marks and Spencer.
What's we got in here?
No, Mr. Bust, no.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got a few people anyway. Right, shall we move on then? Shall we press on? I'm watching the time. Doesn't bother me, but I know some of you want to watch the cooking final.
Yeah, the final.
It's the final, isn't it, tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh well, don't worry. I'll be finished before then.
it's all right. I've set it to record anyway. So
All right. Okay. Anyway, I think we're probably okay to move on. So now we're still in West Sussex, Turner's Hill. This is right on the crossroads opposite the Crown Pub. If any of you know it, there's the 4 directions here: west and east, north and south. Yes, they are there, but I wanted to get a full-on picture of the sign. These are the Sussex martlets, and incidentally, I'm using the blue surround as the West Sussex colour. When we get to East Sussex, I'll change to red. This is an interesting one. This is Sharpthorne, and through the village. What have we got? Well, that sign there is depicting the fact that underneath the village is the Bluebell Railway that runs through the tunnel underneath. And this sign was pierced metal. and it was lots and lots of little tiny dots being cut in it into a sheet of metal, and you could only see it when you looked up against the sky. And it plainly wasn't very successful, so somebody came up with the idea of painting the picture on it. But if you go and look at it, you'll see it's got lots of tiny little holes all around it. But yes, that shows the Bluebell Railway underneath. And of course, before it was the Bluebell Railway, it was the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, which ran from East Grinstead south down towards Uckfield. But sadly, that's not the case now, although the Bluebell restored the tunnel, restored the railway, and there's lots of trains go through there, as you can see from the picture. Moving on, Chelwood Gate. This is on the road that runs down towards Lewes. Chelwood Gate, it shows, what do we got? Well, we've got some fir trees, the church up on top of the hill, and the deer of the forest, and the gate covering the land. There's Chelwood Gate, and this one is very similar, except for the name on it is different. This is Dane Hill, which is just down the road.
I know that.
It's the same as Dane Hill Church that is depicted there. And I went for a walk around the village and was somewhat taken by all these pollarded trees, which are somewhat unusual to see all that lot around the village church. And underneath was the village store and post office, sadly long since gone. And these two signs, this one and the one before it, have fairly recently had a refurb and a repaint. They painted them in colour. They're rather nice, but I haven't got round to doing a new slide for them yet. Horsted Canes, yeah, well known to some of you. Outside the pub that burned down, there's a Red Lion, I think it was, just on the green, was closed for years, but that's reopened. Ardingly, still within 12 miles. And that's the Ardingly Reservoir on the top left-hand side there, and the village shops and the village clock tower on the, I think that's on the village hall round the back there. And this is a rather splendid sign which was donated by local gentry. And there's two distinctly different sides of it. I don't know if I've got it on here, no. There's two different sides. They're right up against the trees and you can't get the other one very easily, but that's Ardingly village. Balcombe.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you know the Balcombe Road, you probably recognise that sign. Faces you right on the corner of the green, which is down there. The sign, it's an interesting sign, isn't it? That you don't realise when you go through the road, but there's quite a valley to the west of the village. That's what is depicted here, and the sun comes through brightly through the valley. That's what that is. That's
That's the valley that the Balcombe Viaduct crosses, isn't it?
yes, that's right. A bit further away, but that doesn't feature on the village sign. But that sign has been replaced with a new lower post, but similar in design, but different. Brook Street, this is another one going down towards Cookfield, just down the road from Balcombe. And well, it's interesting, there was a post, there was a blank post there for ages, and I thought there's going to be a village sign here. And I pulled in and went into this little shop. It was a shop then, it's now an art gallery, but it was something different. And asked them what it was. Oh yes, well, they were going to put the sign up, but the lady that was doing it was very ill, so it was delayed. But anyway, they finished it off and that got put up. And then a few years later, we went past there and it changed colour. Well, what happened about that? And apparently that one had been crafted out of plywood, marine plywood. Well, if you know anything about plywood, it gets wet and splits and makes horrible mess. And it had to be rebuilt and remade. And whoever remade it decided that they were going to have red apples instead of green apples. The apples represent, there's some orchards around. There used to be a lot of apples produced there for sale. And the wavy line represents the stream that runs down from the brook that runs down into the valley where the viaduct is, the railway viaduct is. A little bit thin story, isn't it? But that's what it is said to be. Lindfield, the linden tree is represented there. There are the Sussex martlets, the 5 Sussex martlets. On the green looking down towards the pond. There's the village pond, and there's the shops are up the main there. And there's the shops if you haven't been there. It's quite a nice little village to look round. Very rural. Haywood's Heath, that's in the South Road. At the junction of, can't remember the name of the road, but that's just on the South Road. The shops, the main shops are on the right, and round to the left section to the railway station. Anstey, this is a poor old sign put up for 1977 for the Queen's Silver Jubilee. A strange picture because no one can really work out what it means. It was apparently painted by an elderly gentleman and donated to the parish. But it's faded very badly and since been replaced. And the Anstey Cross, a rather nice pub across the road from it, that closed some time ago. I think they demolished it and rebuilt it. But it's not a pub anymore. Cookfield, the cuckoo on the branch with beak open, doing lots of cooking. Cookfield Village, again the village features, and we've got the cuckoo on the tree, which just Staplefield. Anybody notice anything special on that?
It looks like it's the photograph has been taken shortly after the 11th of November.
Yes, okay, I wasn't looking for that one, Alan. No, the village sign there, very nice green ironwork or casting with painted green and brown. But have you noticed the sheep is tethered?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and the story goes that it was common land and all the parishioners had the right to let their animals eat on the grass. And they were originally they were tethered. I think it was one sheep per person or something like that, going back in the ages. Here's the pub here, is still there, and there's the village green, and the sign is down there on the left hand side. Hand cross, staging post on the London to Brighton main road. Here's the stagecoach, 4 horses, and the coach, and the Sussex martlets there, the scroll work, and there's a couple of views of the village. Pease Pottage, High Weald. That's just round the corner from the motorway services. You go across the bridge into the village. There's the village sign, and that used to be called the what was it called? Can't remember. It was the King and Barnes main pub.
Was that the James King?
Yeah, the James King. That's right. Thank you for that. And as once King and Barnes were sold out, they changed its name to the Black Swan. Warning lid. I hope you're not going to ask me too much about that because I'm not sure of the history. So I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say any more. I don't want to say anything I might regret later.
Yeah.
Doesn't tell you, does it?
Yeah, I got in trouble there. James took this picture here, and I just took the liberty of standing just inside somebody's gate, and I got, oh, you shouldn't be here, shouldn't do this, that. What are you doing? I'll photograph. Well, that's all right then, and they let me off. Manning's Heath, there's several of these little villages round about. We've come round further towards Horsham now. Manning's Heath, what have we got? The village sign here. It's a silhouette sign cut in sheet metal. There's the church, the outline of the church, the cross on the top. This is the golf course with the two flags. And we got the trees because it's rural. And put up in 2000 to represent to celebrate the millennium. Warnham, just north of Horsham. There's two of these with a deer and some scroll work. Nothing much to say about them really. Rasper, just a carved sign. This was an interesting one because local history, local people told me that when they put it up, the workman instructed to do it, put it the wrong way round, so that you saw the sign when you were leaving the village, rather than seeing the sign as you approach the village, which is what most of them are. And so it had to be refashioned and turned round. But that was when it was brand new, recently carved. It's seen 10 or 15 years of weather and it doesn't look half as attractive. Bear Green, that's coming up towards Dorking. And the pond, well, I couldn't see a single creature on that pond. Yellowy green stagnant water, but it was obviously at some time they had the ducks there. Capel, that's Capel Church, depicted on the sign as in the bottom picture. That sign was not looked after. The local council didn't do anything at all. It was covered in ivy. About once every 2 years they cut the ivy off. But it's disappeared altogether now. Don't know why. But I like that one with the oak tree, the acorns on there. Newdigate. This one is frequently up and down. They seem to paint this every 2 or 3 years. Same features, like local crest. Any cricketers managed to get some action on the photo? Charlwood, well, you probably know this one better than I, but it's on the corner of the village green, put up in 1997. Wood from Beggar's Gill. And there we've got, what do we got here? We've got the church, the windmill that used to be at Lowfield Heath, which got moved into the village. We've got the oak leaf, the Sussex oak leaf, and we've got the trees as well, the windmill. That one has recently had a refurb. Buckland. Just a lot of scroll work at Buckland. Rather a nice old post office built. Used to be the post office there. Post office long since gone, although there's just a letterbox there. And there's the village pond, which is the other side of the main road. Betchworth. It is said they had a very nice crafted sign, which was erected somewhere adjacent to this, on the other side of the road, I expect. But it was put up and stolen within 2 or 3 days, and it's never been, nothing else has happened. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that white signpost has been replaced, but in similar style.
That's
That's Brockham Brockham Village Green. That stone is against the wall. You can just see it over there. There's the stone. It's just a stone with Brockham 2000 carved in it, which is rather a shame for a nice village. It deserves a proper sign.
Ah,
Dorking, the chicken with 5 toes, which is a specific breed. Well, I just have to put this aluminium fellow on, didn't I? And the local wags at Easter, there's some big Easter eggs appear. You know.
I think at Christmas they put a Christmas hat on it and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yes, it gets decorated. I don't know what they've got on it this year, but yeah, and there's always some big Easter eggs down here at Easter time. That's a bit of fun. Westcott, there's 2 of these signs as you enter the village and as you leave it. There's a dovecot there next to the bus shelter, and that's what the village sign mimics. And there's the main road that goes along through the village, the A25, and that's there. And that's very old, that dovecot. I've got old postcards going back to 100 years ago probably, and there was one there then. Although plainly it's not the same one, it's been replaced. And indeed, the bus shelter, that looks as if it's recently been put some new on there. Some new thatch, probably quite recently. West Humble.
who's that?
Well, that's north of Dorking, going up towards Leatherhead. And you'd have laughed. I went to this spot, and I know there's the stepping stones there. I wanted the stepping stones. When I went there, I couldn't find the stepping stones.
Oh,
They weren't there. Then, of course, I realised that I'd gone and the river was in flood. And the river was in flood, but I don't know, another foot of water there probably. It completely hid the stones, so I had to go back and have another go. But, yes, this is West Humble. This represents the old farm up the lane up to Poleston Lacey. You go past it, but that again is a millennium sign. So just a bit further up the road is Nicholham. There's the church on there, and I'm getting bad on the names. That's the big hotel just on the
Bertha Bridge.
roundabout. Yeah, the Bertha Bridge. Thank you for that. I think that might be. We're getting towards the end now.
John, what's the wavy lines on that sign? Is it to depict the Mickleham Bends?
No, no, it represents the river.
Oh, right. Okay.
It represents the river. So I'm told. The church, you can pick up the church, and these are just crowds of it. Yeah, there's 2 of those, but they're somewhat weathered now. Walton on the Hill, that's just a note on a gate. That's all I could find for there. Burheath, very poor old sign, that one. Funnily enough, I was there this week and took some pictures of a new sign for there, which depicts the same subject but in slightly different. But it's under a tree, and the other side of it is all covered in green mould. They don't look after it.
shame.
Banstead Village. Now there's some snow on there. Somebody was asking me about snow. That was snowy after I'd been there. But there's 2 of those at each end of Banstead High Street. There is a nice sign, but I haven't got a slide of it. Woodmansterne, story there. There was a lovely old cedar tree right in the village, and it became unsafe and they pulled it down, or it was cut down, and a local woodman carved or created that from the trunk. And it's strange, I was showing these pictures to a group of the Probus group somewhere, and somebody in the audience said, he said, my brother, he was the chap that did that. So It's just a small world. You just don't know who you're meeting, do you? But you can see, if you look at it carefully, you can see a tree there. Can you see the outline of a tree?
Yep.
And then there's a fox here with his tail out the back there.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And then there's a little seat there that's created a seat there. So, yeah, and you can just see flowers here. Can you see the little flowers? Yeah, so there we are. Where is it? Well, it's between Banstead and Chipstead, really. There's the church, and the Woodman is the pub, which is right next door to it.
That's nice.
Reigate Town Centre. There's 3 of these signs. They all appear to be the same, but in fact, on one of them, the clock is moved out into a different place. But there we are. That's Reigate Town Centre, which is just up the road from us. And so we come back to where we started. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. There's about 70 pictures you've seen there. Are there any villages or signs that you're aware of that I haven't mentioned? Because if anybody lives anywhere and you come across a new sign or one you don't remember, I'll always be pleased to hear. Be pleased to know.
Nothing at Sidlow, John.
There's nothing at Sidlow, no. There's nothing at Salfords either.
Oh,
But anyway, thank you for
very interesting.
your patience.
Very
I'm
good,
sorry
very
about the
good.
delay.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you, John.
I'm
Very
sorry
good.
about the delay.